Hello and welcome to your Valley News Now update. Duke Schindler here with you, getting you caught up on what we're working on in the newsroom and what's going on around Fargo-Moorhead at this time. Starting it off, Fargo-Moorhead say they were called to a shooting in the area of 10th Street North and 6th Avenue North just after midnight on Saturday morning. Now, police say when they got to the area, they did find a man with a gunshot wound. Now, take a look at this video here. This is what we're looking at and gathering more information on. Police say an early investigation indicates the man and the victim were involved in a physical altercation before that shooting happened. Now, a description of the suspect was released by police saying and describing him as a scruffy-looking white male. Let me get this video pulled up for you. And if you have any information about this shooting, you are asked to call the Fargo Police Department, 701-241-5777, or you can leave an anonymous tip by texting Fargo PD to 847-411. Now, the suspect's whereabouts are still unknown at this time. The victim is at an area hospital, but they are in stable condition. So police also say that Saturday's shooting is not related to any of the previous shootings that happened in Fargo in the previous weekend. Really, that's not the only thing, unfortunately, that happened in the area. Fargo police also saying that a man is in custody for a stabbing in South Fargo this past weekend as well. Now, police say they were called to the 1300 block of 32nd Street South around 12:41 a.m. when officers arrived. They found a man in an apartment who had been stabbed. He was taken to the local hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Now, officials say after an investigation, it was found out that the suspect is 33-year-old Boyman Don, and they knew the suspect and the victim knew each other, and Don has fled to another apartment down the hall but refused to come out. This is his mugshot right here. Officials saying the Red River Valley SWAT team was brought in around 5:15 a.m., deploying a flash sound device, entering the apartment, and then executing the arrest warrant. Now, Don was taken into custody for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. And just coming up here, if you were tuning in before we saw the Fargo Police Department do their own press conference, once again, kind of giving us an update on some of the cases they are working on here. Giving updates, that's what happened around the area. And that includes also Tyreek Jones, the suspect who's thought to be a part of the shooting in downtown Fargo last Sunday, or I should say 2 Sundays ago, is still at large, but officers say they are working with federal agencies at this time. That was one of the updates, and they were, however, able to make an arrest regarding a separate assault that took place on the same night of the shootings those 2 Sundays ago. Now let's get his mugshot pulled up for us here. This is going to be, thank you. Police were looking at the 2 suspects and were able to arrest one of them in Moorhead. That's right here. 19-year-old Tobias Walker was taken into custody in conjunction with that Fargo assault that happened the same night, like I mentioned, as those 2 shootings in downtown Fargo as well as South Fargo. Now, officers say that assault is not related to any of the shootings that we saw. All right, I'm not sure if you were able to hear that sound. I couldn't really pull it up on my end there, but basically saying that Walker has been taken into custody and he was one of those 2 people in that picture. Over to Barnesville, there was another stabbing that happened in Barnesville with 3 people being hospitalized for stab wounds. That happened Friday, August 8th. Let me pull this up for you here. So this was a domestic incident that included 3 people. According to Barnesville police chiefs and Clay County deputies, they were dispatched to the 900 block of 2nd Avenue Southeast in Barnesville just after 6 p.m. like I mentioned on Friday for a domestic incident with some stab wounds involved. Now, 3 people had injuries from a knife. One was ended up flown to the hospital for serious injuries. Others transported by ambulance. Now, scanner traffic from the helicopter indicated that this patient had suffered a stab wound to his arm, and the chief says that they believe this to be an isolated incident with all subjects known to each other. Also saying that the suspect in this incident was one of the people that were hospitalized. So we have a reporter out at Barnesville today. Keep in touch here with Valley News. We'll have an update as well as sound from surrounding neighbors and whatnot as we gather information on this incident. Then we want to take you over to what kind of happened in Moorhead, an incident of a called-in vehicle outside of Barnesville, which ended in the arrest of a man who was actually wanted for murder. So let's get this up for you here. 1 second, we are still working on things. All right, there we go. Back at it here, back at it. So this was an incident that happened outside of Barnesville, and this is his mugshot right here. They saw a vehicle, Barnesville police saw a vehicle that was stalled along Highway 34 just outside of Barnesville last Friday, early in the morning at 9:30 a.m. Saying from the call that there was a man changing his tire but acting suspiciously. So it was learned that the man who you see right there, James Emery Minor III, was wanted out of St. Louis, Missouri for murder. Now the St. Louis Police Department was contacted and they confirmed that information. So Minor is charged with second-degree murder and armed criminal action in the death of his 73-year-old stepfather. Our sister station in St. Louis on Thursday says the victim is working on things here, and the victim was found in his living room dead from several stab wounds. He was arrested 180 miles from the Canadian border, and Minor himself, a 46-year-old homeless man, was taken into custody without incident. He's being held at Clay County Jail and being sent to St. Louis. The vehicle itself is also being held. And we want to bring this up for you. This is going to be our next story here. Out of Detroit Lakes, a man is facing theft charges after officials say he stole from a house and held those items in exchange for puppies that were owned by the victims. So according to court documents, the Becker County Sheriff's Office was called into an address in Frazee for a reported theft on May 20th. The victim said that Dominic Zaccardi, who you see right there, the mugshot, had come onto his property, taken several items, including a pair of chainsaws, power tools, and an air compressor, a push mower, mountain bike, and a PlayStation 3. So the victim said that they confronted Zaccardi, who said that he would return the items, but the victim only gave him some of the puppies that the victim had. But only if the victim gave him some of the puppies that the victim had. Zaccardi, who is now charged with theft with intent to restore for reward, was out on conditions of release for another felony theft case at the time of this incident. We want to bring you back here. Some little bit better news here. If you've been tapped out of the Twins yet so far, none of us can blame you for that, as they traded those 11 players at the trade deadline. But don't look now. There may have been a shift in that clubhouse. Twins have won 4 out of their last 6 games. They took on the Royals, and a really cool story here. That's Ryan Fitzgerald, a 31-year-old rookie, and his first at-bat in the majors, he gets a hold of one. After 8 minor league seasons, he shows out in his debut, giving Minnesota the lead. Well, that's not the last we heard from Fitzgerald in this game. A pop-up to third. There's Fitzgerald tracking, reaching over the tarp. A debut he will not soon forget. Twins looking for the win here. And in extras, bottom 11, Luke Cashel, the rook, gets it done. The Twins winning the last 2 series and finishing this one off against the Royals in an absolute thriller. Let's get this off here. I bumped there we go. Bumped a button here, but a great comeback by the Twins there. And it's not the only thing we're seeing from Minnesota sports here. Good vibes all around. We got the Lynx, who have been on the top of the NBA, and they've been on top of the WNBA by quite the wide margin here. They ended up taking on the Liberty last night, who has the 2nd best record in the WNBA. And even without Nafisa Collier, they got the job done. An 83-71 victory without Collier, who did suffer that recent ankle injury. But it certainly helps when you have 2 other All-Stars to pick up that slack. Kayla McBride with 18, then Courtney Williams with 14. Not to mention the trade deadline acquisition, DeJounte Carrington, grabbing 6 boards and 15 points herself. So Minnesota's case for the #1 seed continues to rise, with only 12 games left in the regular season. Bring you back here for one last story before we let you go. And of course, we got to talk about the North Dakota State Bison. As if there was any doubt, the FCS releasing their preseason polls. It's North Dakota State and the Bison taking the top spot. Now the Bison, they got 54 out of the 56 first place votes. List is finished off by Montana State at 2, South Dakota State at 3, and South Dakota, the Coyotes, at 4. That'll be it for your VNN news update here. Keep in touch with us. We're going to work on all the stories we have here going throughout the day and keep you updated on what we have. Download that Valley News Live app, the VNL weather app. We'll catch you later.